Assalamualaikum dan selamat sejahtera. Kumpulan kami akan membentangkan iaitu case study thinking skill dari chapter 3 dan chapter 4. This is our member have 4 groups. The first is Muhammad Zakar bintu Razak. The nomometry is 03 FTV 25F 1049. And the second is Madesh anak lelaki Mutu 03 FTV 25F 1048. And the third is Muhammad Amiruddin bin Ahmad 03 FTV 25F 1063. And the last one is Gavinesh anak lelaki Kunalan 03 FTV 25F 1058. So for the question 1 is empathize stage element of thought. In question 1, I empathize with Sarah by mapping her thoughts and feelings. This show how her assumption and emotion influence her behavior. So in these slides I share, they have 4. Number 1 is says, number 2 is feel, 3 is think, and number 4 is does. So for the point of say is I feel like I falling behind in life. I need to post something or people will forgot me. I can stop thinking about what others thinking of me. I wish I could stop comparing myself. And for feel anxious when not checking her phone, feel insecure and pressure to impress, feel disappointment and unmotivated, and feels emotionally drained and disconnected. So topic number 3 is the thing. If I'm not online, I will miss something important. Everyone else is doing better than me. My value depends on how many likes I get and why is my like is not exciting as there. And for the last point, for the empathy stage element of thought is does. Scroll social media first thing in the morning, post selfie and achievement often, daily posts that don't get enough engagement, and the last one is to avoid real life tasks to stay online.
Define stage reflective thoughts. In question 2, I defined Sarah's challenge clearly and wrote how might be statement to focus on building healthier habits. Okay, issue type. Emotional, cognitive, behavioral, core description. Okay, Sarah's problem. Sarah feels emotionally dependent on social media, leading to stress, sadness, and low self-esteem. She believes that worth is tied to her online presence and other opinions. And more, she spends excessive time online, neglects sleep and studies, avoid real life interaction. And last one is Sarah is trapped in a cycle of comparison and fear of missing out, using social media to feel seen and valued. Okay, stage is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay, reflective question is what emotional need is Sarah trying to fulfill online, and what beliefs are shaping her digital behavior, and some more what new ways can she explore to feel connected and value, and what tools can help her track and challenge her thoughts. The last one is how can she measure progress in her mindset and habits. Evaluating thoughts and ideate stage. Okay, in question 3, I generate ideas using brainstorming and mind mapping. Then evaluate Sarah's thoughts and with criteria like fact versus assumption. Okay, first, generate approaches, brainstorming, mind mapping, worst possible ideas method, creative thinking tools. Okay, the second one is criteria for evaluating Sarah's thoughts pattern. Accuracy of negative thoughts, evidence supporting or rejecting her thoughts. Emotional versus logical reasoning, consistency in thoughts patterns. Tiga, evaluation framework, apply chosen criteria, identity irrational or inaccurate thinking, recognize cognitive distortion. The fourth one is prioritize best evaluation approach giving most accurate assessment, approach that is repeatable and objective.
For question 4, prototype stage unhealthy thinking patterns. In question 4, I identified unhealthy thought patterns and created prototypes like a thought tracker to help Sarah reframe her thinking. In this question, there are two main points, which is identified patterns and prototype tools. For identified patterns, patterns such as catastrophizing, and the explanation is expecting the worst if she doesn't post. Next, personalizing, the explanation is blaming herself, others, lack of response. And next, emotional reasoning, and the explanation is believes her feeling reflects facts. Next, for prototype tools, tools such as Thought Tracker Grid and its purpose for logs time, trigger, thoughts, and mood. How it helps? It helps by identifying patterns and triggers. Next, pause and reframe card. The purpose is three-step card, pause, question, and reframe. How it helps? Encourages mindful thinking before reacting. Next, social media mood meter. The purpose is color coded chart to rate mood before and after scrolling. And how it helps? Build emotional awareness and control. Question 5. Methods to change negative thought patterns stage test. In question 5, I tested the prototypes with a weekly plan and measured success using SMART goals. Methods to change negative thought patterns. First, apply the test stage by developing a comprehensive intervention plan with built-in feedback. Second, design a specific methods for Sarah to change her negative thought patterns, including success metrics and ideation process. Third, create a testing protocol that allows her experiment with different approaches, gather her thinking strategies, including both short and long term experiment and implementation plans.
Empathize states understanding Marcus' argument. Okay. In question 6, I empathize with stakeholders to see how Marcus' argument affects youth, parents, and policymakers. Okay, stakeholders F4, youth, parents, educators, and policymakers. View on Marcus' argument for youth, feel unfairly target and stereotype. For parents, supportive but cautious. For educators, worry about students' well-being. For policymakers, interest in public health data. Okay, emotional response for youth, defensive and misunderstood. For parents, concerned but cautious. For educators, supportive of balance, not bans. For policymakers, need evidence-based policy.
Question 7 is agreement validity. Define stage. In question 7, I define the weakness in Marcus' agreement and set criteria for what makes an agreement valid. For A, identify the core problem. Use formal logic principle, spot fallacies, detect logical gaps, and identity weak reasoning. For B is create a problem statement. Describe Marcus' logical weakness. Summarize key issue in his reasoning. For C, develop how might we questions. How might we identify fallacy in Marcus' claims? How might we strengthen his argument structure? And how might we evaluate whether his reasoning is sound? For D, define validity criteria, logical consistency, use of evidence, avoidance of fallacies, and clear reasoning steps. And for the last one is assess Marcus' argument. Compare his argument to her criteria, conclude whenever he meets the standards of the good agreement. For question 8 is agreement mapping. In question 8, I create an agreement map to show Marcus' claim, its flaws, and possible alternative. They already have 4 in this mapping. So for number 1 is innovative agreement map, which include the evidence range indicator such as color coding, light thickness, and also the counter argument and sub premise. For number two, is include the defined criteria such as strength. For number three, is creative visualization technique, which has a concept maps, high-res speaker, statistical data and visual evidence. And the last one is a brainstorming, which include the restructuring and also few the premise that just concludes and counter agreement also.
For question 9, I prototype a conclusion checker to test if Marcus' conclusion is strong or need revision. 1. Evaluation framework, scope criterion, evidentiary criterion, logical criterion. 2. Prototype, quality checker, evidence support assessment, conclusion ID, alternative conclusion generator. For evaluation framework, there is checklist templates and this decision tree. And lastly, number 3, tangible visual tools, which is the decision trees and decision matrix. For question 10, argument validity define stage. A. Create counter argument. Well reasoned. Oppose Marcus' position. Includes evidence. Shows logical coherence. B. Design testing protocol. Test with different audience. Seek reactions to persuasiveness. Ask for feedback on clarity and logic. C. Feedback mechanism. Survey. One-on-one response. Peer review. Rating scales. D. Metrics for strength, persuasiveness, logical validity, evidence support, audience understanding. E. Refine counter argument. Apply feedback, improve weakness, strengthen logic and clarity. Present final improve argument with evidence of enhancement.